Fit for Life Radio, episode number 198. I'm Gary.
I'm Will.
Fit for Life Radio hosts with the mosts. I
suppose.
Yeah. Coming at you live from Newport News, Virginia, Coastal Strength and Fitness. And today, we're going to be talking about attendance, exercise, attendance.
Like just showing up.
Behavior.
Just got to get here.
Mm-hmm.
See you later.
And I guess really since I know I've been in the industry, it was something I always noticed from when I started out working at like a Globo type gym and noticing people signing up and not using it. And then I was a trainer, right? But obviously then my clients who trained with me stuck for years and used it. Obviously having a personal trainer is an extra expense. And then, fast forward to now, and we have like a group training type gym, Coastal Strength and Fitness. We get a, 98% usage rate, and then a 75% like high usage rate. So obviously, like compared to regular gyms, which typically have a 20% usage rate.
Which I think most people are familiar with that. Most people have gym memberships and just don't go.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, we've kind of made note of those things, but there was a study done, and it was in the Psychology of Sport and Exercise, and they asked the question, why do new members stop attending health and fitness venues? The importance of developing frequent and stable attendance behavior. And we wanted to share it because, one, I think it's helpful for people to see their normal when they join a gym and don't go or stop using it. And then they feel like they're a failure. And, just the whole psychological probably loop you go through. And then ultimately, okay, how do we combat this, right? And just understanding that your intrinsic like motivation, typically in a moment to join a gym and then be excited when you join it, like that's just not going to last.
It goes away, like anything like that.
You can't rely on it.
Like you're super excited at first because it's new and it's novel, and you have, we all have a grand plan in our brain of like how this is going to go, and then once we settle in and get past the honeymoon period, that goes away.
Yep. It's like when I bought my first toolbox.
That you never used?
Yeah. So, basically, the highlights were only 22% of members attend a health and fitness venue after a year of membership. And typically males, and if you have early attendance and context stability, correlate with continued attendance. So then they also find to have that early attendance, interventions are needed to promote early, frequent, and stable attendance. And a strong correlation with that is that you have attend at the same time and location. So obviously, if you have a gym, some gyms actually nowadays have a lot of different locations, even within a certain area.
Yeah.
But for most people, okay, location, cool. But then, we talked about this in a previous podcast. This was another high correlation. Remember, with like the same time, or maybe it was. Remember, it was like if you go early in the week, Monday or Tuesday.
It was like Monday. If you went Monday, like that predicted that you were gonna be like, on track or whatever for the week. Like you're going to go the days that you wanted to for the entire week.
Yeah. And the big one here was same time, right? And we see this a lot. And I think if people don't like to make that commitment, right? But we can make a commitment for our jobs and for, eating.
We go to this work at the same time every day.
School or your kids' activities. So the real reality is, for one, you just have to prioritize going to your gym at that level, and then pick a time and stick with it, especially when you're starting out.
Yes.
So that is probably the one takeaway is when you start, like, pick a time, schedule it in, and commit to it. And make it, don't go into like, I'm going to go today and leave it open-ended, right? And maybe you do make it at like 6 p.m. and then the next day or two, maybe you go before work and you make it early. Like, the odds are if you're not going at the same time, you're not going to stick with it.
There's just a way bigger chance for you to not show up.
Mm-hmm.
And that adds up. The more you do it and the more you have the attitude of, I'll just go whenever, right? Yep. So then it becomes your second or third priority, or it's just kind of on the back burner just in case something else more appealing comes up. Yeah. Like going to lunch with somebody or going to get coffee or whatever it means, or sleeping in. Like, we're going to, reach for that more often.
Mm-hmm.
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
And on average, the average attendance and frequency was 7.5 times in the first month and 0.92. So basically 1 times by the 12th month after joining. And I had a long post about this when I did a report when I worked at Gold's Gym. I guess, this was probably like 15 years ago, and I pulled up all the people that report of like the number of people that joined in that January. Well, from the previous year, so the January before, and then how many just attended one time in December. And it was similar to these numbers. I mean, it was like...
It's kind of sad when you see that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again... And here's the other thing. If you don't go, you kind of start and don't go much, or you're on and off in that first or second month.
Oh, it's not.
You're not then like 5 months in, it's clicking, right? Because normally we psychologically just bomb ourselves with.
Yeah, we're like, oh, well, I'll just do this again some other time.
Even though it's perfectly, that should, go for it. But so the reality is, when you start, pick a time. Get there, and then if you can get there consistently and really make it a habit, you have a much higher odds, obviously, of it becoming a stable behavior.
Yes.
Right. So, and then one conclusion from the study essentially is people need interventions. Like just joining the gym and then expecting to go just doesn't cut it from.
Yeah, well, that's the 20% show rate.
Yeah,
is that just show up to the gym and there's nothing, no outside forces or structure or anything like that helping you.
Yeah, and that's where you see gyms like ours, Coastal Strength and Fitness. It's basically a plethora of interventions, right? One is that you have a coach, so they're going to know you. You're going to know them. You could just feel some people alone kind of then feel like. They don't want to let this person down.
Yeah.
We have an admin who follows up with people, checks in with people. You have to reserve your class times. So
you're setting an appointment.
Yeah, you're setting an appointment. It forces you to set an appointment. So that's the easiest, most major intervention. Now, and then at a gym like this, there's limited space. And then once you've reserved, we've obviously seen it, right? So it's just more leverage. So it's a leverage intervention with that you said you're coming, you picked a time, and then eventually, as you come, it's a group setting. There's other people. Most people come to the same time. You're going to start to see the same people. They're going to expect to see you.
Yeah.
Right?
And we see it every day.
Mm-hmm. Whereas a regular gym, you go in there, most people, front desk maybe will recognize you or know your name. But, at the end of the day, you could go in and out for a year and no one's ever really going to notice if you're there or not.
Yeah.
So, that's why you see the power of, and in general, in the industry, the trend is like those kind of Globo type gyms are slowly losing ground, whereas these group training gyms like us, and then like the similar franchises are like Orange Theory and things like that have been gaining ground, gaining popularity, and the ultimate reason is it's right there. Like, well, people just use it, so then they value it and they stick with it, and then see progress. And really, it's because there's built-in interventions, right, with getting you to attend. And if you come in that first month, you're going to be much more likely to stick with it.
You're setting the stage, right? You're setting the stage of, this is the habit that I'm going to have going forward.
Yeah.
Right? And we talked about, if your habit is, I showed up twice in a month, well, it's going to be that or worse as we go on. And we know it's going to get worse, and you're probably just not going to show up eventually.
Yeah.
But if we can set that, like, I go 3 days a week at this time on these days, then that's just like, you ingrain that in your schedule and you expect that that's what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah. And then the reality is you're just hoping to do it enough to where it becomes this ingrained habit, and it's so automated that then at that point it's just a behavior like brushing your teeth, getting dressed, and it's just the thought of not doing it doesn't even enter.
Yeah.
Part
of what helps too, and you mentioned this with personal training, is like the amount you're investing in it does help as well.
Yeah.
When you're paying, if we talk personal training, that could be like $600, $800 a month or more.
So average now for an hour in most normal areas, I say normal meaning like obviously Miami, LA, and New York are going to be way more expensive. Yeah, but it's like really nowadays about $60 to $80 an hour.
Yeah. So it adds up pretty quick. So we could look
for one session
upwards of maybe,
you're doing twice a week at $70. That's $140
times 4.
So
so that's about $600.
Yeah.
So that's twice a week. So yeah, probably $600 to $1,000. But like, if you're paying that, you're showing up. There's no doubt. And then on the lower end of the scale, you have us, not lower, in the middle of the scale. It's $150, $200, and that helps people show up. And then at the very opposite end is your $10, $20 a month, where that's a couple. That's like 2 meals out for lunch, so it's not a huge hit for people. So it's just not as much of an incentive of like, I'm paying all of this. It's just, it's $20, like, whatever. So that is a factor too, and I think that's an intervention, so to speak, that can be helpful for people. So I think people get caught up in that, thinking that I can just do it on my own. It's cheaper.
Yep.
But most people need the interventions.
Well, think about it. If you didn't value it before and you're trying to get into it, and then you look for the cheapest option. So now you're literally trying to devalue it, right? Like, because think about it. If you, at the end of the day, stuff we value, we spend more money on, right?
Yeah, that's what we spend our money on.
So like if you value the car performance, that's why you're going to buy a Lexus, and not, a less car with a, I don't understand cars, right? But obviously it would have like
unless you keep going,
different engine or something. So, If you're like, well, I want to go to the gym, but you're almost gonna fail from the start because you're probably assuming like, let me get the cheapest one
in case I don't use it.
In case I don't use it. Yep. Because you don't want to commit.
It's not committing.
Yeah.
That's what that is. And then on the flip side, if someone's like, I'm going to pay $400 a month, whatever, for small group training, that's a big commitment.
Yeah.
And they have clearly thought to themselves, like, I'm going to do this.
Yep.
And it's worth this $400. And we get some people that come in and the price almost doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, and I know everyone's in a different situation economically, but you can tell when people have their eye on the prize, and the price is secondary to what they're after. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, okay, I'll pay it. It's whatever it takes to get me to, you know, living healthier, feeling better.
And then I would argue, you know, obviously it's like when people are younger, they seem more into it, and it's probably because there's more natural interventions.
Yeah.
Right? Because maybe you're you have something performance based, or you like are more driven by the body results, right? When you're younger, and so people kind of like prioritize it more, so they can just join a cheap gym, but they're going to show because they have a very, you know,
well, there's a big drive for it.
Big drive. They also may have more time, which means they can go more often, which then helps cement the habit. Yeah,
they have less priority or less responsibilities maybe at that point. So it's just like, yeah, I'm going to take care of myself, and it's a little easier for them to do that.
But then the real reality is the older we get, the more important it almost becomes. So you have to find whatever leverage you can, you know, or intervention, so to speak, as they mention in here, to make it stick.
Yeah, and it takes work.
Yeah. And again, I think the important thing to remember and take away is the default of joining the gym and not using it and not going is the norm, right? You're not like lame, or you're not like a failure because you did that. Like that is literally the 80, you know, they talk 80%. About 80-20 rule, right? That's the 80%. Our environment and how we're wired actually make that normal, right? So again, if you're that 80%, you're going to have to leverage, you know, find these other ways to leverage getting your butt in there, and that in the beginning.
Yeah, and I think that's the big point.
Yeah,
that's a non-negotiable. Like, everything you've tried hasn't been enough, and it's not that. Again, you're not a failure. It's just that, hey, you need more help, and we all need more help in some way, in some area. Like, you are not an expert in cars, you know what I mean? Or other things. You're not going to, you know, install or do all your electrical in your house.
Yeah.
Like, we have to leverage, you know, in that case, another person or a professional to help with that.
Yeah. But when I was young, I wouldn't have cared enough because it was like just my random place and just me, and I would either just not have the light.
You would have dealt with not having a light.
Right. But now it's like, oh, I'm about to have a baby. So for one, I want it to be done right. So
and you got a wife who's like, can you like
do this?
Place that light because it's off?
And you get it done, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's getting help and paying someone to do it or whatever. You know, you really just need to be honest with who you are and where you're at, and realize that if something's a priority, that you figure it out.
Yeah, whatever it takes. Whether, you know, some people have the ability to just go to the gym and do it, right? The 20%. But most people need help. And that's cool. Like, if you can admit, like, hey, I just need help with this, you're going to get way farther than if you just keep telling yourself, oh, I'll do it again next year, you know?
Yeah.
I'll one of these days I'll get it. It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just use that knowledge to know I need to do something else.
Yep. It makes me think of old Gordon Ramsay restaurant. What's the one where he saves the restaurants?
It's Kitchen Nightmares.
Kitchen Nightmares.
Yeah. I got Gary on a kick on Kitchen Nightmares.
We're just rolling through them.
Just rolling, baby. It's one of my favorites, dude. I don't know. Just the yelling and the end product is just beautiful.
I'm always interested, the people that can leverage him actually coming and giving them this full makeover and system, you know, to really, truly, like,
Because they buy in.
And every episode's always like, I won't let you down. And you know some of them do.
Yeah, some of them do because they're not bought into it.
Yeah.
Because they can't accept who they are and that, hey, I need this person's help to improve what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But the people that do, like, they change and they, change their behavior to what it needs to be in order to leverage all the stuff you did for them.
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late. So having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
You know what blows my mind is, look, we all know, like, when you have frozen food, like, it tastes a little different, right? But and you, at home, you may be okay with that because of the convenience factor.
Yeah, like,
right?
it's fine. Like, you're
yeah. So, like, when these restaurants that serve frozen food, I'm like, y'all, like, you're missing the plot.
Yeah. Absolutely, completely missing
people are
everything.
Paying you for delicious food because they didn't want to cook it,
and you're serving them at home food,
and you're trying to do what's convenient, right? And then you wonder why you're struggling. Dude, there's this guy, Italian restaurant. You know, there's so many seasons of the old one.
There's so many. I think I've watched a lot of them, but it's been a while.
Dude, the server and general manager didn't even realize they were doing this, and the chef knew and had told the owner, and he's just like flabbergasted. But so they made fresh pasta daily, but then they would freeze it.
Stop.
You know, so when Gordon was eating, and, the menu says fresh pasta made in-house daily, and he asked the waitress, and she was like, yeah, and then he's like, how does this taste frozen, and then she went and asked him, the chef was like, yeah, he's like, I don't know why, but this is what we do, and then everything, they make meatballs a bunch ahead of time and freeze it and all this, and obviously you can taste that, when it's frozen.
Yeah,
like
anything is going to be weird when it's frozen and reheated.
The owner was just... Now, this one was a little sad. It was like his parents' restaurant. It had been around for, however long, and they died, and he hasn't changed anything. But then he was like, but it worked before, and Gordon was like, dude, that was like 1965. Like,
no one knew.
Yeah, they were just happy to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they
like,
would go out and have a meal.
If anything, frozen food was cool because it's like, oh, you have a freezer? Like, it's new technology, right? But it just showed, too, like, I don't know, it just blows me away. Like, all these people have to have Gordon come out there, and the answers are always the same.
Yeah.
It normally starts with, like, their food's crappy.
Stop trying to take shortcuts.
Yeah. And then they have, like, the 100-item menus and stuff.
Oh, dude, that's always a red flag.
Yeah.
Like, if your menu is, like, more than, I think, like front and back, or 2 pages, then, like, you're in trouble. Because you can't. I mean, let's compare it to this. Imagine if we offered every style of classes under the sun.
Yeah.
We had our normal, like, strength and conditioning classes. We had Zumba. We had yoga. We had Pilates.
Yeah,
all of that. Like, how are we? Yeah, CrossFit.
Yeah, powerlifting.
How are we going to be good at any of those?
Shake weight class.
Shake weight class. Might be good at that.
Who would teach that?
Diego.
And talking like broken English.
Yeah. Little shorts on. But yeah, like that would be the same thing. Like, you can't do everything well. And we know that. We niche down. We know who our people are. We know what we're doing. We know what we're about. And we have a one-page menu, versus having the Cheesecake Factory menu is what I usually call it, where it's like a book. And how can you make 200 items well? There's no way. All the waste.
All the extra ingredients you need.
Like, you got to buy so much
It
stuff.
makes everything harder.
Yeah.
The logistics of everything, the ordering.
And imagine you got to keep all that fresh, and you got to know exactly how much to buy, and it's just a friggin' nightmare.
Yeah.
So most restaurants fail for obvious reasons, I think. Mm-hmm. As two restaurant experts here now, we've watched 8 seasons of Kitchen Nightmares, and we're experts. We'd be in over our heads if we opened a full restaurant.
Oh, it's just the little intricacies, you know?
Well,
there's so many moving parts.
Dude, you know what stresses me out? Just like the people in the kitchen, like just knowing how they do things in a certain order and all of that. And they're just screaming stuff. I need 6 of these and 7 of these. And it's like, how do you keep that straight?
Dude, he did this
like respect to anybody that does that.
A soul food restaurant.
Oh,
and when
man.
a ticket would come in, they were like, we can't, we get confused if like we have multiple of the cooks working on the same ticket. So like a ticket would come in and like one person would then handle that entire ticket.
Oh.
Like make that whole
That
meal.
seems really inefficient.
And another, instead of having like a line where like one person's working on a certain,
like one person's got the grill, they're doing the proteins, and other guy's got the mashed potatoes or whatever.
Yeah. And so then it came down to ultimately like they just had no systems. Poor systems, right?
You got to think like Chick-fil-A.
So, yeah. And then this comes back to with a gym attendance, right? Like, so we talked about, needing to leverage and all that, but you probably need a little system too to get you there, right? Which could be like, again, you schedule it into your schedule, like an appointment, and then maybe you lay out your gym clothes and you, kind of have like a flow and whatever you need to do to make it happen.
Yeah.
And
it could be anything, as silly as it seems, whatever works. Like putting your gym clothes out in the morning.
Yep, packing the bag, putting it in your car.
Like some people, and I love when people do stuff like this, they'll wear their gym clothes to bed.
Yeah.
And then they just wake up and go. And, it seems silly and dumb, but like that helps them get to the gym. Mm-hmm. To just like, I'm removing every obstacle. I'm literally going to wake up and leave.
Yep.
And it works for them. And that's the type of stuff where the people that succeed will always find that way to make themselves go.
Yeah.
Like to drop the resistance as much as possible.
All right, folks. There you have it.
Short and sweet.
Why do new members stop attending health and fitness venues? The importance of developing frequent and stable attendance behavior. You got to lock it in early.
Lock it in.
You got to get there.
And you do have to tend to it. You got to maintain it. Like you can't just throw caution to the wind at some point. Like you have to keep your schedule and your structure. And then like the other interventions, and it might be accountability from your gym or the people that go there. You might have a workout buddy. Like finding those things and sticking to them is important.
Yep. So and then you can become part of the 22% who attend for beyond a year. Or in theory, hopefully then it raises that percentage,
Let's
right?
go, it's 23%.
Yeah. So if all 3 people who are listening to our podcast,
if you do that,
we can move it from 22.
We're moving the needle, baby.
From 22% to 22%. But with a different
decimal
number behind the decibel.
Yeah.
Is it decimal or decibel?
It's decimal.
I know. I realized when I said it out loud. Decibel's like sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. You caught it.
Decimal versus decibel.
Fight to the death.
All right. Any English teachers? Is there anything?
You know what? They probably hear us and they just roll over.
It's a lot of words.
It is.
You ever wonder, like, how you learned all these words?
I try not to think about it.
Yeah. I'm looking at the
like, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Like, where'd these come from?
Yeah.
Someone did a decent job.
It's funny who decides on the first words. Like, I look at all the baby toys. It's all like dog, cat.
Why isn't anything better?
Yeah. Why isn't it decimal, decibel?
Yeah.
Picture of it. Decibel.
Decibel. Nah.
This dog barks at a high decibel. Smartest kid ever.
Oh, God.
Dude. So no one else listening will know this, but I'll just tell you anyways, so I don't forget. So we have a client and friend at the gym. And his name's Barry. And, and I don't somehow, and he would wear blue a lot. And I just started calling him Blueberry.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it was like BLUEBARRY. And even online, like that's how I tag him and stuff. And they gave us a baby book. And it's called like, oh man, I don't want to mess this up. So it's like, let me see here.
Blueberry.
There it is. It was an older book too. It had been used, but it's Blueberry Bear counts from 1 to 20.
Stop it.
Look.
Bro.
And look how it's spelled.
Blueberry.
I was like, what are the
Dude,
odds?
that's too good.
It's a big old blue bear.
It's too good.
It's spelled blue as one word and then berry, BARRY. Counts 1 to 20. It was good stuff.
Uncle Barry.
I know.
Uncle Blueberry.
So now he's going to read that book and he's going to grow up thinking there's blue bears.
Uh-huh. How do we not think stuff like that as a kid? You read books like that where there's a blue bear, and how do you just decide like...
The book I remember the most is the Are You My Mother book.
Dude, yeah. The bird on the edge of the
freaking crane.
The crane. Yes. Yeah.
Why is that stuck in our
I
head?
don't know.
We've never talked about that before. We
I don't
both had
know.
the same, and that was the one thing from that book that I remember the most.
It stood out.
Like it's like
Does anybody else have that
a memory.
stand out?
Yeah.
Is it a core memory all of us share?
Yep.
Dude, maybe it's because I read that book like 400 times or had it read to me, but like...
They say it's better to read like the same books like over and over and over
Why?
and over. I think because it just maybe like they can hear the same words.
The repetition.
It's so kind of like we just talked about, like less is more.
Yeah. If you read a bunch of books, they might not pick up on all the words.
Exactly.
Well, clearly that stuck with us.
Yeah.
Damn. I don't know why that one part. I don't remember anything else, if I'm being honest.
Yep.
Damn.
It's wild. We need to start a Facebook group.
We do.
Are You My Mother? Bird on a Crane. Core memory. Everyone gets in there and they're like, you know it too.
I'm not alone.
Dude, there's a Facebook group
for everything.
For everything.
Oh. Anything and everything.
Like a whole your people's, and no matter how niche
you're going to find someone
you're in.
That's
there's probably a Facebook. You drinking this Core Power?
There's a Facebook group for those.
Fairlife Core
Definitely,
Power.
there's Facebook groups for things that have been discontinued that people are really upset about. Like when a show gets canceled, people they'll like complain. They'll lobby to get the show back on air.
Yeah.
Like people are real passionate about the things they like.
There was one show on Amazon that we just loved, and it was only one season. And
What was it about?
It was like a summer. It was like took a place in like the past, maybe like the 70s or 80s, and it was like at a country club.
Oh, Red Oak?
Yes.
Yeah. I never watched it, but you told me about it. Yeah.
It was just like so funny, and you know how some shows you really like, they
click.
You feel like you're there, and it does a good job with just like you just feel like you're there. It was just
You feel like you're a part of it.
and then I couldn't believe it. I was like,
dude, that always happens. Dude, Netflix is the worst. They'll have a show that'll like get pretty good, acclaim for a season, and then they'll just drop it, and then that's it. Like they don't let anything develop. Don't give it a chance. It's like they see like one metric and they're like, nah, on to the next, and it's just so frustrating.
and maybe they don't intend to. I seen one thing where they actually say they were coming out with 20 shows and 20 got renewed. They see that as a bad thing. So they see that as they're not pushing the envelope enough. So they actually want to have a certain amount of shows that aren't popular.
Yeah.
I remember seeing something
Such
like that.
a weird
That's
thing.
interesting. And it's funny because we have our own little things like that with our business. Mm-hmm. That would make sense to no one else. But then you realize like every single thing has all that stuff that you just have no idea about. So
That's true.
Yeah.
They do put out a lot of shows though.
Mm-hmm. And
it's really just like, let's put out all these different things and see what sticks.
yeah. To where you could be like, this is stupid. And that literally could be like, that could be why they were like, let's do this. Right. It's interesting.
I'll never get it. Showbiz.
All right. Well, there you have it. If you're listening, rally for Red Oak. Season 2.
Red Oak, and also figure out what time you're showing up to the gym.
Yeah.
And what days.
That's important. And make it the same time.
If you can.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening.
Catch you next time.
As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or garydeagle.com. We'll see you next time.